What does it take to be a sneakerhead? Have you ever asked yourself that question? Most of us just assume since we collect sneakers, we're automatically in the game, we're in the top of the ranking, the general of the army, we're all sneakerheads, right? But honestly, sometimes I ask myself, like, what is the deeper meaning to being a sneakerhead? Because there's actually a lot of contrivances with being a sneakerhead, and there's a lot of exceptions to the rule. People often say if you collect reps, you can't be a sneakerhead, or if you don't collect Jordans, or if you don't like these certain shoes, you can't be a sneakerhead. And I'm just really trying to break down the meaning of what it means to be a sneakerhead. In very simple terms, I think we can all agree, a sneakerhead is somebody that loves to collect sneakers. So is everybody a sneakerhead? Like your mom had a bunch of shoes in her closet. Does that make her a sneakerhead? Where do we draw the line here? You know, I think the differentiation when it comes to a lot of these exceptions to being accepted in the sneaker culture, you have people that fall into one of two categories. You're either a sneakerhead or a sneaker lover. And it's crazy because I question sometimes, in order to be a sneakerhead, do you have to love every sneaker? But what if you don't know a lot about sneakers? Does that stop you from hitting that upper echelon to being a sneakerhead and you're just a sneaker lover? What if you're just a casual consumer of culture? That is a really deep question. So I've actually broken it down into three different variables, three different domains of being a sneakerhead / sneaker lover. And your feelings about each of these topics really separates you. It's like a spectrum. You either fall into one category or another. The first thing I really want to look at is the most obvious aspect of being a sneakerhead, and that's collecting sneakers, all right, guys? So what are the must-haves when it comes to a sneaker collection? What forbade somebody from being a sneakerhead if they don't own certain sneakers? A lot of people associate owning Nikes and Jordans with being a sneakerhead, but believe it or not, when I actually got into the sneaker game, the only thing I collected were Yeezys. Now, if you've been following this channel for a while, you know I was the Yeezy guy back in the day. I collected Yeezy 350s, Yeezy foam runners, Yeezy 700s. All my collection was Yeezys, and it was like that for a while. What actually broke my love for Yeezys, I would say, but not really broke my love, but what forced me to get out of my comfort zone and look towards other models was when Adidas and Ye separated and parted ways. I had to look at other options. I had to think about, wow, what else can I do to fulfill my love for sneakers? I always had my eyes on Jordans for a while, but honestly, when I was growing up, I couldn't afford Jordans. So I really gravitated towards like Adidas, Converse, Vans. It wasn't until I got older and when I was able to afford to buy my own Jordans is when I started buying Jordans. I got into Jordan 1 lows, I got into Jordan 4s, I like Jordan 3s a lot, but my point still stands. What does it take? What are the must-have sneakers in the sneakerhead collection? Like everybody thinks everybody owns Airforces, but I actually don't own a single pair of Airforces. Does that stop me from being a sneakerhead? I wonder, what is the requirement? And then two, what if you only collect Skechers? Like Skechers have no hype whatsoever. Or what if you only collect Fila's? Do I have to own hype sneakers from hype popular brands in order to be considered a sneakerhead? Am I allowed to participate in the conversation if my whole collection is Fila disruptors, or if I think Skechers are the best sneaker ever? Am I allowed to participate in the sneakerhead conversation, or am I just somebody who loves Skechers? And with me saying that, that brings me to my next point too of like, what if somebody owns reps? I made a video about this in the past. Can you own rep sneakers and still be considered a sneakerhead? I talked about that more in that video. If you're interested, go check it out. I wonder too, like if somebody just goes around and they collect reps, right? They don't want to pay resale. They're not the type of person to participate in that. Does that stop them from being a sneakerhead? Because they could still love the sneakers. They could still appreciate the sneakers, but they just didn't go through the same work that somebody else went through. So is there an effort requirement with being a sneakerhead? Are there certain trials and tribulations to obtaining this title? Is it like joining a fraternity, bro? Do I have to get hazed and brazed just to be a part of this upper echelon, the highest level of the community? In order for me to wear the letters of being a sneakerhead, I have to do all sorts of activities and then I could be indoctrinated in the culture. No, obviously not. There are plenty of people that call themselves sneakerheads that one person, their dad just handed them some sneakers, the other people waiting in line. Like there's certain experiences nowadays that younger sneakerheads will never have to go through. I know a lot of the OGs on my channel probably remember waiting in lines to collect sneakers Nowadays, people don't relate to that. Nowadays, it's the sneakers app. It was me getting lucky on the sneakers app. That's what's gonna determine whether I felt that same effort level or not, or having to wait in the Foot Locker queue. For some people in the future, it may be completely different because the game is always changing and evolving. So the requirements are also changing and evolving. And that segues me to my next point. Like, do I have to be a scholar of sneakers in order to call myself a sneakerhead, right? Now, there's some people who know what shoe Michael Jordan was wearing and what game, who was playing against, who was on his team. I admittedly know nothing about sneakers. I don't care for sports. The only sport that I really would watch is like mixed martial arts, but we all know there's no fashion in fighting, guys. It's just throwing these hands, and if they're kicking something, it's with the kicks on their leg, bro, not with the kicks on their feet. I know that was a shameless transition, but who cares? It's FitsByFree. I be yapping. I'm the D1 yapper and the D1 hater. Do your homework. But, you know, do I have to have a solid history? Do I have to have a solid knowledge base of like every sporting event and everything like that? Like, you know, back in the day before I think Kanye really broke the mold, a lot of the sneakers and collaborators were athletes, and a lot of people bought sneakers because of athletes. Like, you can look at Reeboks. Reeboks has a ton of hype players around them. You got Allen Iverson, the Shaq, they had Kobe at one time. People gravitated towards these brands because of the celebrities associated with these brands, right? Now, a lot of people could say that about Yeezys too, but the reason why I got into Yeezys was because of the music, because of Kanye's West influence. And you can even look at Travis Scott's that are very popular amongst new generations. A lot of people gravitated towards those because of Travis Scott and his influence and how he's impacted the game, how he's impacted music, how he's impacted fashion. Now, a lot of the OG sneakerheads may not be too familiar with Travis Scott's music, but they might collect his sneakers because they know they have some hype value to them, you know what I'm saying? And like, what if I'm not the type of person who understands how to resell sneakers and the value of a certain sneaker on the market? What if I don't know how to do a flip? What if I don't know the ins and outs of a sneaker convention? Or what if I don't know the lingo? What if I don't know what dead stock is, or VDNS, or OGR? What if I don't understand what these terms mean? And I'm just somebody who likes a sneaker. I might watch a couple of sports. I might be super into basketball. What does it take? And what if I'm the type of person, I have no clue how to care for my sneakers? What if I just, you know, keep them in boxes? What if I throw the box out? Does that stop me from being a sneakerhead? What if I don't know how to clean my sneakers? What if I don't wash my sneakers every 3 days? Does that stop me from being a sneakerhead? So we also have to look at like the knowledge base behind this, right? Why is there a barrier to entry when it comes to sneakers? I really feel like with a lot of other fan bases, there isn't like a football head and just a generic football head. Like, people just like to watch sports and they bond over that love for sports. But I oftentimes notice in the sneaker game, we have such a divisive gatekeep culture. Like, if you do X, Y, and Z, I can't mess with you. You're forbidden from sitting at the table. Are we really acting like Mean Girls now? Lindsay Lohan? I don't think I watched Mean Girls in its entirety, bro. Do I lose my white girl card? Possibly. And the last thing I want to get into is how they value their sneakers. And this is the most subjective of the three, right? Because like I said earlier, like, there's an effort level that is associated with anything, right? When you buy sneakers, whether you're buying reps, whether you're buying used, whether you're getting retail, everybody has their own way of like obtaining sneakers, right? And is it time? Is it money? What is really the thing behind it? Because a lot of people who say like, oh my God, you buy reps, you're not a sneakerhead, they oftentimes associate that with somebody who's lazy, poor, trying to be fake, like just following the trends. So is it independent thought that determines this stuff? Is it the time that you put into getting a sneaker? Do I need to be waiting in lines, like I said earlier? Do I need to be constantly researching and finding new stuff and just buying whatever I like from Ross or any store? Like, what is it, guys? I don't understand it. Like, yes, effort is important, value is important, but what if I'm just somebody who likes to wear shoes? Does that separate me from somebody who really values them, puts them in clear cases, you know, really loves and worships the sneakers? There are some people who won't even wear their sneakers outside because they value them that much. What is it? Where do you find yourself on that spectrum? You know what I mean? And it's hard to say, because in some ways, like, I do feel like it is prerequisite, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you say you're a sneakerhead, I automatically assume you're somebody that loves sneakers, but there are also a lot of sneakerheads who have very vehement opinions about certain sneakers. You know, for example, with Yeezys or Mischief Boosts, those are very polarizing sneakers. You're either gonna feel one way or the other, right? Now, some people have a lot of hate towards a lot of sneakers. I mean, my whole channel sometimes is predicated on hate because it's a personality I play into, but you get what I'm trying to say, people. Like, how much room is there for hate in the sneaker culture? You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people say they're sneakerheads, and if you say something bad about sneakers, like, dude, how are you gonna hate? How are you gonna sit here and hate? Blase, blase. All you do is hate on sneakers, yada, yada, yada. But do I have to love everything in order to be a sneakerhead? Am I allowed to dislike stuff and still call myself a sneakerhead? You know, and then what if you're just a sneaker hater like myself? Raise your hand if you're a sneaker hater. You know what I'm saying? Does that stop me from being a sneakerhead? Because I could be very knowledgeable about sneakers. I could collect sneakers and I could value sneakers and still hate most of them. Does that stop me from being a sneakerhead? You know what I mean? Like, the people and the sports analysts, like I think about like Skip Bayless sometimes. He's very critical of sports games and whatnot. He's very knowledgeable. He can still be a fan of the sport and still critique it in a way. You know what I'm saying? So ask y'all, like, where is it? And then there's the exact opposite of that too. What if I just love everything that everybody else loves and I'm a hype beast? I literally just follow the trends. I just do whatever StockX tells me to do. I look at the value, I look at the recent sales. I'm just following complex sneakers to a T and just doing what I'm being told. You know what I'm saying? Does that also stop you from being a sneakerhead? If you don't have original thoughts and opinions and you just love whatever needs to be loved, does that stop you from being a sneakerhead? These are all questions that y'all just gotta answer for yourselves, honestly. And do you identify as a sneakerhead or a sneaker lover? Or maybe you're a sneaker hater, or maybe you don't care for the labels and you're just the D1 hater. But there's only one D1 hater, and that's me, guys. I'm just kidding. If you wanna be a D1 hater, you can do it too, guys. It's not that hard to hate, because honestly, let's be real, hate is a purest form of love, bro, because if you hate something, you gotta love it in order to study it and hate it. So really think about that and unpack that. But those are just some things I want y'all to ponder on and just talk to me about. What do you think? Do you think there's a difference between being a sneakerhead and a sneaker lover? What makes you a sneakerhead? What are the requirements in order to be a sneakerhead?